there, fellow nerds and geeks. Aaron Nabus here, and on behalf of my co-host, Alex Benedicto, thank you so much for tuning in to the Hall H Show podcast, the voice of independent creators. On this episode, we welcome Alex Callego and Justin Holden, the co-founders of Palm Springs Comic-Con. We'll do a quick preview of some of the panels and offsite events that we're interested in checking out at this year's San Diego Comic-Con 2018, especially some of the shenanigans we'll be getting into. Both Alex and myself will be working the morning shift at booth 1943. That's the Alcatraz High booth. It's owned and operated by our good friend Bobby Rubio. He's a story artist at Pixar, but he grew up here in San Diego, California. And we'll be joined by Keithan Jones, the owner of Kid Comics and the creator of the comic book, The Power Knights. We're sort of riffing off of the Avengers Initiative, and we're calling ourselves the San Diego Comic Initiative. So please come check us out. Say hi. Booth 1943. Going back to Palm Springs Comic-Con, we'll talk about their unique relationship that they've sort of grown and fostered with Comic-Con International. So that's a pretty interesting conversation. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a whole bunch more. This is almost like a 2-hour podcast, and it's something that sort of happened by happenstance. We were originally just going to be doing a regular preview that me and Alex usually do, but we saw that they were in town and we kind of invited them on. So, and we recorded this at one of our favorite places to eat here in San Diego, California. It's a Korean restaurant called Josun. That's Josun. That's in the Convoy area here in San Diego. So if you have a chance to come to San Diego for a San Diego Comic-Con and you're here for a couple days, go check out Josun. It's pretty cool. So be safe, have fun, be kind at San Diego Comic-Con, and we hope to see you. Enjoy the episode. Hey there, fellow nerds and geeks. Aaron Nabus here, and on this episode, we are joined by my co-host, Alex. How you doing, Alex?
All right. Hey.
And we have some special guests. We have Alex Callego from Palm Springs Comic-Con and his good friend and collaborator, Mr. Justin Holden. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good too. Who goes first?
and we have San Diego Comic-Con coming up in a couple of days, and for our viewers who are wondering why we got two guys from Palm Springs Comic-Con on here, we'll unveil that a little bit later. But with Comic-Con coming up pretty soon, what do you guys got planned? What do you guys want to do?
We have a lot of plans. We have like a huge list. Mm-hmm. Well, the biggest one that we were like, I was looking forward to is Conan.
Mm-hmm.
We were so fortunate to get into like Conan on Wednesday night for their Breaking Bad show 10-year reunion. I was like blown away that we got it.
Seriously, yeah. I was like, oh wait, what day is what day is Wednesday? Who's the guest for that day? And then someone's like, oh yeah, we're doing Breaking Bad. I'm like, best day to go, best day. Such a huge fan of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and all that good stuff.
Well, congratulations on getting that.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like I'm a winner in life.
We're doing this podcast at one of our favorite Korean joints here in San Diego in the Convoy area. It's called Josun. We just got done eating dinner. I had my usual galbitang, which is the beef rib soup. Has a nice little broth that goes with it, and also, of course, the banchan, little sort of extras that they give you. Alex, you have what did you have?
I had bibimbap. It's a spicy cold noodle, which is real popular during the summertime. So good.
And then Alex and Justin, you guys had some barbecue. How'd you like it?
I enjoyed it a lot. I like I said, when the smaller the selection of meats, usually the quality of the meats is better. And I think I was on point.
I think you were on point.
I think I was on point.
We've had a lot of Korean barbecue in our time, and I think it was pretty good. Definitely worth the trip back. Yeah. We also had some like beef intestine, which we had for the first time.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I don't know if I could.
A little chewy. It was kind of like, how did I describe it earlier? It's like, it's like a rubber ball, like burnt on a barbecue, like one of those stress balls.
To me, it was like eating. It tasted like chicharron at first, spicy pork rind or pork rinds, but then the crunchiness went away, and in came the chewy gumminess. It all I'm not even kidding about how chewy it is.
And you
it's
know,
good though.
we couldn't come to a Korean place without ordering some soju. So cheers to you guys, and thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting us.
Oh no.
You gotta lick it off.
I know. I gotta lick it off the plate now. Jeez,
I spilled too much.
I failed. Guess who's cleaning dishes tonight?
So basically, yeah, we got, of course, we got San Diego Comic-Con on the mind because it's going to be in a couple days. Today is actually Monday, July 16th. Preview night is on Wednesday, July 18th. So everybody's starting to trickle into San Diego. When did you guys get into town?
I got into town on Friday evening, slept in on Saturday, and then just started hitting it hard with like trying to figure out like all the offsites. I ended up getting to get into the well, I didn't go in on Saturday. I went on Sunday for the Leica Live, Leica Studios offsite. That was great.
Yeah, so for people who are interested in going to that, you want to describe it a little bit?
So the Leica Live experience is a much more expanded version of what they did last year. Last year they had a lot of set pieces and props and everything, but this year they kind of went ham on it. They brought out animators, and they have brought in some of their animation stations where they do a lot of the repairs, and they build a lot of the I don't know what the correct word is, but they're puppets. They're for the animation.
They're more or less puppets.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, I guess you could call them that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a more technical term to it, but
yeah, exactly. I don't work for like a studio, so I can tell you.
So like what they did in Kubo, right?
Yeah, they actually had the puppet for Kubo, and they showed how they animated, how how they work the facial expressions, how they changed them to animate it, and it was really cool. They had this whole wall encased with glass where it showed all these different characters, but slight variations on their facial expression to show 1 second worth. What it takes to show 1 second worth of a character's facial expression, which is crazy to me.
Did they got the snazzy shoes this year? Or?
Yes, they did.
Oh, yeah?
Those shoes.
Oh, and they're giving them away this year. I really, really want the all of them.
So if Leica's listening, send them our way. We'll demo them for you.
I'll go skateboarding in their SB dunks that they have there.
So we got a bunch of sneakerheads over here. One thing that we love going to at San Diego Comic-Con is actually the smaller panels. I know that you guys are going to Conan, right? But are there any small panels that sort of caught your eye?
For me, I found out through the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog podcast about this host, this moderator named Mark Evanier.
Oh yeah, Mark Evanier. Yeah.
He he's such an amazing storyteller. He talks and he knows so much, and he's very inspiring to me just for listening to him from their recent podcast, and it piqued my interest because I've heard about Quick Draw.
Oh yeah, that's one of our favorites to go to.
Really? Yeah, I didn't know really. I'd see it on the schedule, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But when he described it, it made me really, really want to go this year, and so I think that's going to be one of my goals to get into Quick Draw.
Cool. Before you go on, just a little bit about Quick Draw. A few years ago, do you guys know who Floyd Norman is?
Who?
Floyd Norman.
I know. That name sounds familiar.
He's a Disney animator.
Okay.
He worked on Jungle Book, and he's the last living link to that era.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Actually worked
with Walt Disney.
Oh, wow.
But they were developing a documentary about Floyd Norman. I think it was called My Animated Life. It's about Floyd Norman. But they were taking footage of Quick Draw one year, and if you go on Netflix and you watch that documentary, you'll see Alex there, and another good friend Dean. And I would have been there too, but I was I was there, but I was walking around taking pictures, and I just happened to miss it. But it's a little side note about that Netflix special. If you go through it, you'll see Alex in there.
I'm doing that tonight.
And one good thing about that panel, the quick draw panel, is that they sort of buttress it with cartoon voices. I think usually.
Yeah. I think it's after that. That's another one.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
He moderates that one too.
Yeah. So anything Mark Evanier, I'm very interested in.
I think he might even have a Kirby panel.
Yeah.
And I think.
Kirby assistant.
Oh really? Oh yeah, that's right. He talked about that in the podcast.
Yeah, and then Arlen Schumer messaged me saying that that Evanier is going to have him on that panel, the Jack Kirby panel, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll have to say hi to Arlen.
Hi, Arlen. How you doing?
How about you, Justin? Is there any panels that maybe caught your eye?
I'm pretty new to the whole panel side of everything. I've only been going to Comic-Con for 3 years now, consistently, and the last couple of years I kind of just did my own thing, just explored, kind of feel the grounds a little bit. This year I'm looking into doing some, going into some panels. I'm really not too sure exactly what I want to go into, but there's one in particular I do want to go into, and that's women in comics.
Mm-hmm.
I know they do their own women con comic thing in New York or whatever, so it's kind of nice to see something like that coming out here and having them do panels with women that are in the industry and not talked about too much. I think that really interests me, things like that. Just seeing a different perspective in an industry that's kind of saturated with dudes for
Sure.
the most part,
I guess
so.
while we're sort of on the subject,
Yeah.
before we go to other panels, with the recent Comicsgate floating around,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts about that?
Comicsgate, are you talking about
Diversity in comics.
the issue of that. I mean, to me, it's such a no-brainer to have diversity. Come on, I want to be able to relate to some of these people. These characters, although they, we can relate to them in a certain way, but they can't culturally connect with us, which is amazing to see a Chinese Superman.
Yeah.
Female, all these different female of different ethnicities to be exact. You had Riri, you have Miss Marvel.
Riri is Iron Fist, right?
Yeah. Ironheart. Ironheart.
Oh,
Ironheart.
Oh, Ironheart. My bad.
She was going by Ironheart.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Because that would be,
Mm-hmm.
dismissive to just to call her Iron Woman. I feel that she deserves her own identity, and I think that's really cool that they chose to go with Ironheart, and that makes a huge difference. They slapped on the moniker of Thor to Jane Foster, which is great. I like the fact that they went with that direction, but it was okay. Thor, you get that comment oh, Thor's a girl now, but I think there's maybe a little bit more thought to put into the identity of what they were going to do with Iron. Riri Williams as the replacement replacement for Iron Man, and to actually have her have an original name rather than let's remove the man and change it to woman or girl. That would be super dismissive to me. She's more than just that, and it kind of speaks to more to in a sort of metaphorical sense, Ironheart.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I know that there has been a lot of, buzz about, the old guard. It's sort of like similar to how people's reactions to the new Star Wars movies, and you sort of put that against or compare it to Gamergate from a few years ago, and now it's sort of dipping into comic books now. So, going forward, us as supporters of diversity and representation matters. I mean, for us, it's like you said, it's a no-brainer that we support this because we feel that representation does matter. And what are some ways that we can sort of help be good advocates for that?
First of all, I to be a good advocate, you have to have a little bit of empathy. If you don't show that empathy and you just go in there like, this is what I want, we need this, you have to look at where these people who are opponents of this are, where they're coming from. If you're not willing to put yourself in their shoes and see why they're thinking that way, you'll never get them on your side, because you'll just be going to be fighting this battle of trying to convince them from your point of view rather than from their point of view. And I've found that when you're trying to convince somebody in any argument whatsoever, it's best to put yourself in their shoes and see why this thing would be good for them. So that's what I feel. I mean, I don't know, like, what you have any ideas of?
I mean, more or less, I agree. It's just, I just don't think that you should be focusing on, this person's a dude and you're just, making them a woman because it's a bandwagon thing. I don't think that's a way you should be going about things like that. Obviously, there's a reason for everything. I know that the decision isn't let's just make Thor a woman now, just to make her a woman. I think there's a little bit more deeper thought into creating a character, because in reality, that's a completely different character aside from Thor. It's just Thor was an original idea, and a female Thor is kind of like this new idea and a more progressive idea that I think everybody should kind of move forward with. Because, I mean, honestly, I'm not the biggest Marvel comic book fan or even DC comic book fan. I mean, I love Batman, I love X-Men and all that good stuff, but honestly, like, the old characters kind of bore me, and I'm always looking for new, innovative things to get me back into, reading comic books again. That's why I seek independent comic books, mostly because they're new ideas, regardless of what the character is. Whether the protagonist is male or female, that shouldn't be the thing that sells your comic books. It should be the idea behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, like, and this is just me personally speaking for myself and how I view the world. I've never believed in should-bes. And that sounds right there is a blanket statement in itself, but to just rely on this is how things should be doesn't open you up to the rest of the world and the possibilities. We're dealing in a world of fantasy, and when you start putting limits to things, that's when fantasy stops, and you're dealing with more of this like our world versus there. You're trying to like impose our world into this thing now, where this fantasy world, Marvel, DC, Image Comics, everything is just a somewhat of a mirror image in this alternate reality, and we can't impose those boundaries on just on that world, because that world does not belong to us. Thor, Spider-Man, Spawn, whoever, they don't belong to us. They belong to the people. And yeah, legally they're owned by DC, Marvel.
No, I get the gist of your argument.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're unhappy with what Marvel or DC are doing, I mean, you don't have to buy it. You can go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
pretty much.
Exactly.
To make it short, yeah.
That's short and sweet. Yeah.
No, but on the sort of like the social warrior tip, or the trying to have a representation of society out there, at least some semblance of it. I mean, I always go back to. Do you guys know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is?
Yeah.
The physicist.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I remember he used to. He recounted. I think he tells this, or he shares this story every Martin Luther King Day. His conversation with Nichelle Nichols, who played Uhura on the original Star Trek, and I remember in that conversation she said that she wanted to leave Star Trek, but it was actually Martin Luther King who convinced her to stay.
Oh,
I remember that story. Yeah.
Because I mean, you're there as an officer, part of the bridge crew. You're a leader, and it's not because you're black; it's because you're qualified. I mean, you can be. You're not there because of your color, basically. You're there because you're qualified for that job, and and that's a good representation of I guess eventually getting to that point where it's based on merit,
Yeah.
and not just based on the color of your skin.
Yeah.
Or what you believe, so or your sex or your religion or lack thereof. I think ultimately that's probably like the ultimate goal to get to that point. But in the interim, I think having diversity within pop culture and all the stuff that we're into in terms of our fandoms, I think it is more. It is a plus in my opinion. But I mean, it remains to be seen. I'm curious to see how it will play out in this year's Comic-Con.
Yeah. I feel like there's this sort of open field to say, so to speak, in this year's convention. I have this sort of weird feeling that like they have this there's this opportunity, and there's these panels that are happening, and a lot of offsite stuff, and a lot of group meetups that are happening that are starting to help set the precedence for that. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you guys have been posting on Instagram and promoting has like been like really inspiring to me, just because like oh, I didn't know that they had that stuff. Like I didn't realize that they had so much. I mean, I know that they tried to do diversity stuff, but then just the sheer amount of that.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of panels that are trying to focus on diversity, and I think they're like the panel that I was we're gonna go into some of the panels that we sort of want to check out, and I mentioned diversity in comics, and I sort of said that in tongue in cheek because one of the Twitter accounts that's a big supporter of Comicsgate is ironically called Diversity in Comics. So it the panel is called Diversity in Comics I think as a purposeful challenge to that account. I think
Nice. I like that.
and that's not just me who shares that opinion, but I think even Leonard, Englishman in San Diego, we were talking about it a little bit the other day, and he agreed that maybe that was on purpose.
Yeah. I feel like that it's kind of like, like you said, it's kind of the same way of like taking the power away from when people like saying the
N-word.
The N-word to like somebody, and then like black people saying it, like taking that power,
Sure,
turning it around on them. Yeah.
I guess we'll go a little bit into the panels. Is there any other panels that maybe stuck out to you guys?
I mean, again.
I after listening to the podcast for the unofficial San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog, they just kind of blazed through them, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. That's I totally forget. And that's how I usually get my information on the panels first.
Sure,
And
that's
then,
a good source.
Yeah, but there was definitely standouts, but now I can't even like think of it. I had to go back to listening to it again just so I could.
I'm pretty much just gonna take a shot in the dark and just walk into some.
Wait, did you say shot?
Shot.
Oh wait,
in the dark.
we're getting a shot. Gumby. All right, cheers, guys.
Yeah, I'm just gonna walk into some panel and just be like, sit
That's
down.
cool. That's the beauty of it.
Just check it
Sometimes,
out. Yeah.
If you're just sort of like our friends at Nerd Food, they always say research, and have a plan, but sometimes you just say F it.
Because I know sometimes it's a little bit hard to get into some of the panels because there's so many people. So I mean, whatever I can get into, I'm gonna sit on because I know the panel is gonna be there for a reason, and I'm sure it's gonna be interesting in some aspect, whatever it is. But I mean, it'll be a new experience for me. So, to try something new. I'm always up for trying something new.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah.
I kind of want to take that and just put the panel schedule on the wall.
Oh yeah, just get
and,
a dartboard.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
That'd be a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you really, really want to be open-minded about things, why not?
Yeah.
Let's mark out all the Hall H panels, all the ballroom 20 panels, and you're only allowed to go to the ones that aren't in those rooms.
Exactly.
Oh, and get rid of Indigo ballroom as well. So that's the number 3 one, right?
Right.
And then just only go the ones that are in the 6A, B, D, E. Only go to those ones, and that you have to go to it and see. Challenge yourself and see what you can learn from it. I think that's the beauty of Comic-Con as well. Is for me, Comic-Con has always been this sort of thing where I go there sometimes blindly and just absorb, and take in the sights, the sounds, the everything that it's all about, and try to learn something new. And sometimes I've actually done that, walk into a panel kind of with a vague idea of what it's about. I went to this I'm not an artist, but I went to this how to draw panel and it was pretty interesting. I was like, if I was an artist, I'll try that. But yeah,
also benefit is AC. You get to sit in a room with AC.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've
And
never
learn
been to a panel, so maybe they turn the AC off. I don't know.
No,
They'll have AC in these panels for Comic-Con.
Oh, that's good. Good to know.
They turned it on for you.
Right? Yeah. Turn it on for me.
Justin.
It's just over my seat in particular. Yeah. Thanks.
Even in the bathroom. I'm just joking. Yeah, I guess we'll. You want to go into the panels a little bit, Alex? Yeah. Cool. You can go first. I guess you want to go yours by day, maybe did you do 5 for each day?
I did 3.
Okay, cool.
So we had some extra guests, so I didn't want to take up too much time. Alright, so Thursday, I just went through the list of panels real quick, and a few that caught my eye were, I don't know if you guys seen the Netflix series, The Toys That Made Us.
Yes.
Oh, I love. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
That's one of the ones I wanted.
Yeah, they got a panel on Thursday at 1 o'clock at room 5AB. So they got the the producers, writers, and some of the toy collectors there. So that'll be a cool.
I love
one to
that
check
show.
out. Yeah,
they it tugs on the heartstrings.
You know what? On Netflix, there's something that bugs me about that. Just not the show itself, just the ad on Netflix. It's they show Gudetama on the Netflix ad, but then they don't have an episode about Gudetama. I mean, they have an episode about Hello Kitty, but not Gudetama
Yeah,
itself.
that's right.
I thought it was strange.
Yeah, the little thumbnail.
Yeah, the thumbnail.
Has
That's right.
Gudetama,
Yeah.
but it's never on
Never
that
on.
Yeah,
episode.
I'm like, what the heck?
and see another one is Marvel. The panel title is Marvel Animation, Marvel Rising. So we got the new Marvel Animation, Marvel superheroes for the next generation of Marvel fans. So they got some of the Chloe Bennett's going to be there, and
That one seemed interesting.
Yeah.
to me. That was another one that they talked about on the blog.
yeah, that one's 315 in room 6DE. So that one might be pretty cool. And the last one is it's at the end of the day at 8:30 at night in room 4 is Len Wein Memorial. So he just passed away.
Oh, yes.
Creator
That's
of
right.
Wolverine, Swamp Thing. So we're gonna have some people and just talk about his life and some of the how's it influence on the comic industry.
Yeah, that seems like one I'd like to go to. Yeah.
There was the battleship one where they were, it's like on Sunday, and you pick a topic, and they argue about it, like who would win or something like that.
Oh, it's like something arguments or
something battleship, something like that.
Oh, battleship, something.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting one because like, I always love those sort of like interactive. I'm big on interactive stuff, and to have a panel that's interactive like that's always really cool to me.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one.
Yeah.
We just took a picture. That's all right. Yeah. Small signs right there.
We disappeared from existence.
Awkward silence on purpose.
We dissipated like in Age. Was it? I was about to say Age of Ultron. Avengers.
Infinity War.
Yeah, Infinity Gauntlet, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a soju.
Yeah, soju do that.
Oh man, is it hitting you? Oh man. I just only have one bottle.
Right. Yeah.
Time to get another bottle.
One bottle each.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good panels going. So that was just 3 of them. Do you want to go through yours, or you want me to go through all mine?
So you did Thursday?
Yeah, I just did Thursday in there.
You can go through all yours.
Okay. All right. And that's just a few I picked, but there's a lot more great panels out there on Thursday. For Friday, since that's the first night of the Afrofuturism Lounge, I chose Afrofuturism panel.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the Future.
I saw that one too.
So
That
it's
one
going to be
was
a lot of. There's a professor from San Diego State that's going to be on there. Listen to him at San Diego Comic Fest, and had a lot of good information. And there's a lot more people. There's around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost like a half dozen guests on this panel. So it should be a good one. This one's at Grand 9 in Marriott next door to the convention center, and that one's at 1 o'clock on Friday. And another one I chose was hip hop and comics, cultures combining.
That's always been one I've always wanted to attend.
Yeah, I think I've been to a couple of this Patrick Reed's panels with hip hop and I think I've been to a few. It was either LA Stanley's Comic Con, LA Comic Con, or WonderCon, but he had some pretty good guests on there.
Yeah.
So like he had some people from the Dilated Peoples.
Oh wow.
Nice. And some other kind of like underground hip hop.
Yeah.
MCs on there, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's in room 9. Ooh,
I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, room 9 on Friday, 7 p.m.
Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a good panel.
Mm-hmm. It's a good panel.
7 p.m. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
see if he has any other guests that he might surprise you with. Last one was Star Wars mock trial.
I made that mistake the other day.
The court martial of Poe Dameron. So they got the legal geeks doing this one, and they're gonna do something. I think they have a JAG attorney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of attorneys on this one.
So they're gonna be actual attorneys doing debating about the mutiny on The Last Jedi.
Oh.
So they're gonna talk about that one, and that's at 7 p.m. in room 9.
Are they going to talk about why they killed Luke Skywalker?
Actually, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Oh, sorry. 8 p.m.'s room 7AB for that Star Wars mock trial.
Can I interrupt you for?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's it just popped into my head, and there's this on Sunday. There's this panel that I'm interested in checking out. It's about it's called Unicorns versus Dinosaurs, I believe, or Unicorns versus Dragons, and it's like, which one is the better fandom? And it's moderated by this psychologist, and they named off the two people who are arguing for both sides, and they happen to be like 6 and 7 years old. So, and the psychologist is their mom.
Oh, that's cool.
And I want to see that one.
That
I want to
sounds
see that one.
pretty interesting.
That's one I want to check out. I think that's such a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's on a Sunday, I believe.
Kids'
so
Day, yeah.
Works out perfect. Yeah. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So for Saturday, a couple more. We talked about quick draw earlier. That's in room 6BCF at 11:45. That's always a fun one to do. That one's gonna be Sergio and Scott Shaw,
Sergio.
always there, and they usually have a guest. A third artist is a guest one, and this year it's Lalo Alcaraz from La Cucaracha, the creator or artist from that.
I think Lalo was at Latin Comic Con in LA a couple years ago.
I think I seen his name on the few panels.
Yeah.
He's done a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hosted by Mark Evanier, as usual.
Awesome.
Always a great
That's definitely
moderator.
then I'm gonna have to go check out.
It's new conquest. Huh?
Yeah.
Mark Evanier.
Exactly.
Give them some quest bars.
Yeah. Give Mark some quest bars.
We'll go do that a little bit later.
Go make it rain quest bars. Yeah.
On a quest.
On the quest.
See, I saw this other one. It's called Bridging Anime and Hip Hop. So that'll be kind of interesting. Instead of just comics, it'd be anime. So different perspective on that.
That's interesting. There is definitely comics and anime have a huge history. Connecting with with hip hop. So, I'm interested to see where they draw the connections too. So.
Yep. And that would be moderated by Victoria Johnson be in a Marriott, also in the Grand 9 is a room, and it'll be Saturday at 1 p.m. And I went to a similar. Next one is superhero science. I went to a similar panel at San Diego Comic Fest, and where they actually brought in professors from local colleges. And this one is moderated by Joy Lin. She's a author of If Superpowers Were Real, and she's on TED.com. And and they'll discuss real life consequences of having superpowers. So just like some of the realities of what would really happen if people had superpowers. And that one's at the Marriott also, 2 p.m. Grand 1 and 2. And last day on Sunday. See, the first one is the annual Kirby tribute, host or moderated by Mark Evanier again, who was actually Jack Kirby's assistant, and he always has great stories to tell. And actually, Larry Houston is going to be there. He worked on X-Men, the animated series. Arlen Schumer, comic historian and illustrator. And Jack Kirby's attorney, Paul Levine, will be there. And also from the Jack Kirby Museum and Research Center, Rand Hope will be there. So that'll be room 5AB on Sunday at 10 a.m.
Not a very interesting side note, but Jack Kirby and I have the same birthday.
Oh, August, huh?
Yeah, August 28th. We share the same birthday. Like, people could care more about his birthday than mine, so that's totally fine.
I care about your birthday.
I do too now.
Oh, thank you.
That would be hard to forget.
I always remember your birthday now. And the second one is another Mark Evanier moderated panel. For some reason,
who else has a Mark Evanier crush?
Is Cartoon Voices.
There
so
you go.
they have a bunch of industry voice actors you might know the sound of, but never seen their faces. And this time if you go to this panel, you get to put the voice to the face.
That sounds pretty cool.
Let's see if the Hulk's gonna be there.
Is he?
Doesn't look like it. Nah, that one's always getting one. But that's in
pretty
room
cool.
6A on Sunday,
Nice.
11:45.
You never really
Sounds
do
like,
anything
yeah, I
on
wanna
like
do-
Sundays.
yeah.
Sundays
are the chill out
usually-
days.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of kid
Yeah.
oriented.
Well, for us too, it's always just been
It's
that
always
day
fun.
where you just like relax, because
Yeah.
you had probably had a late night on Saturday.
You're
Hungover.
tired
Yeah.
from the whole weekend.
Yeah.
But,
Guess I'll do quick run through my panels that I saw that I thought were pretty interesting. We mentioned diversity in comics a little bit earlier. This one's on Thursday. It's diversity in comics, why inclusion and visibility matter. This looks pretty interesting. You have Sanford Green, artist variant, Black Panther, Stanford Carpenter, Sam Bright, Nalo Hopkinson. It's a pretty diverse panel. That's going to be Thursday, July 19th. It's going to be 11 a.m. to noon, room 9. The next one that I saw on Thursday that if I could go, I would go. It's the Podcast Advocates and the Podcast Gathering. One of our... because since we do a podcast, it's always cool to see how other people do podcasts as well. So this one looks pretty interesting. This one's going to be on Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 as well. But they're going to have a lot of panels at the library.
Yeah.
This one's going to be at the Neil Morgan Auditorium at the San Diego Central Library, and I think some of them you don't even have to have a badge.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Like I think they're starting to have panels there on Thursday, like either Wednesday or Thursday. And one of the panels is actually geared towards people who work in libraries.
Oh, nice.
They try to get people, like librarians, people who work for public libraries, to attend that one. I told like one of our staff members is she's like a director for in Riverside County, and I told her like you guys should check that out definitely. Like I would. Because I guess you have to register for that one. It's free. It's part of SDCC, but I think you have to register for that one. So,
next one. I was a pretty big Stargate fan. How about you guys?
I love the movie.
The movie.
I never really followed the TV series. I was like, well, that's cool. It's MacGyver. I'm a huge fan of MacGyver, but like I
picked up on SG-1 a little bit,
like
pretty much after the movie.
Like
though,
after Syndicate, like it was on Syndicate, like on Sci-Fi, basically. Yeah.
I picked up on that, but my knowledge is, I just watched it. I just sat there and watched it. I thought it was an enjoyable show. As far as like knowledge about it, I have zero knowledge about it. But I do love Stargate though. I love it.
Yeah, this one's going to be a Stargate franchise, creative storytelling, and I think one of the actors, Chris Judge, is actually going to be on that panel. So that'd be pretty cool to check out.
Aren't they rebooting?
I'm not sure.
Or not rebooting. I think they're just like different, doing a different story.
Like another, like Atlantis, but they're going to be somewhere else.
Probably.
Or they had Stargate Universe or something. I think that's like the last one. But the possibilities are almost limitless.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I'm a huge fan of Art Germ. He's going to have his own panel.
Nice.
Drawing with Art Germ Lao. It's going to be a live demonstration of how Art Germ creates characters with universal appeal. It's going to be Thursday from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Ooh, an hour and a half. Damn, that's pretty cool.
Dang, that's a long panel.
Yeah. It'll be room 2. That'd be pretty cool. Hopefully I can check that one out. And then our good friends, the Accidental Aliens, they have their own panel. It's going to be Drawing Inspiration, how drawing groups can empower aspiring comic book creators into print. And,
that's Scott Lost, right?
Yeah, Scott Lost.
Yeah. I've
met
him before.
As a wrestling fan, I'm sure you know him.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I actually... First, I found out about him at San Diego Comic Fest. Okay. And I saw his artwork. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he had a cover of that he did, or a piece of artwork that I bought from him. It was like, I think The Great Muda.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Like I had to buy that off of him. And so I just kind of followed Scott for a while, and he's always been like this kind of like a guy that I kept on my radar. I've tried to like work with him. On
he's a cool guy, man. He's awesome to hang out with, to get drinks with. Actually, Accidental Aliens popped my moderating cherry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I moderated their panel at the San Diego Comic Fest.
Oh, nice.
So
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. That was a cool experience.
Did you know he was a wrestler?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew about that after the fact, because he's like, oh yeah, I used to wrestle, and then I kind of looked more into him, and I was like, wow, he was one of the founders of PWG, which is like a huge hot promotion right now, and like that like blew my mind. I was like, oh, I have a lot of questions. Did you ever wrestle CM Punk?
And so this panel is going to be helpful for people who are aspiring to create their own comic books. So pretty much the Accidental Aliens, they're a San Diego-based drawing group, and they're going to discuss creating comic stories from their individual talents and how they forged their resources together to launch successful Kickstarter campaigns. They've already had 2 that were successfully funded. Topics for this panel are going to include how a drawing group can inspire artists to hit deadlines on top of a real 9 to 5. That's going to be helpful. Promotion of individual talents through a group social media campaign, working together to tackle the logistics of a successful Kickstarter campaign, promoting diversity. Diversity is going to be a big word, I think, at this Comic-Con. Group networking, and how a drawing group can improve your skills as a comic artist while having fun. And those guys have fun for sure.
That's what's so funny about like something like a panel like that. A lot of people on the surface would like, oh, I'm not trying to launch a comic book or anything like that. But that's such a translatable panel, and could be applicable to any sort of business you're trying to launch. And to me, that sounds really interesting. I'm not a comic creator, but I can apply it to so many different aspects of business.
Sure.
So events, putting on events.
At the very least, you'll get a good lesson on the importance of collaboration.
Exactly.
Because in their group they have a bunch of artists. I mean, like Scott draws and he also writes. Travis Rivas, he's a writer. Emily Rocha, she's a colorist. And you have X-Man, Ronnie Anderson. He's another artist. Tristan Whitehouse, who we're going to interview at San Diego Comic-Con.
Nice.
He's he's an artist as well. So you have a bunch of people who can help you out, and you can sort of like see what kind of ideas and get feedback.
Yeah, collaboration is we've throughout the years have like realized how important collaboration is, and because you can't do it all on your own.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Next to impossible.
Yeah.
Some people can make miracles, but no, I mean, even for us, like, everything has definitely been collaboration, whether it's like between ourselves or someone's bringing an idea in for, whether it's a panel or an experience that we want to offer for our con.
And it makes you even more grateful for the things that you are able to accomplish, because you realize that it wasn't you. It was like you had this whole village behind you. So,
it always feels better with the team effort.
Yeah.
It really does. I think going at it alone, trying to do that lone wolf type thing, never works. I mean, if it does, I mean...
Well, there was that study that they put out there. They were talking about the behaviors of Amish people, and like when they do the barn raisings, they found that when they do these barn raisings as a community together, it gave them this empowering sense, feeling that they all, and it made like their moods rise. There was no like depression levels, obviously, but like it was just a good thing for them, and it made productivity better and had more gratitude towards the whole the community as a whole. So I think
we can all learn something from Amish people.
How to milk a cow.
Right, how to milk a cow. How to
hitch a buggy.
How to make your own popcorn, I guess.
How to grow a beard.
How to grow a beard.
Yeah, hell no.
I'm on my way there.
I can't do it. This little tiny goatee, it took me like 8 years.
Yeah, so I encourage our listeners to go check out the panel, Drawing Inspiration. Drawing groups can empower aspiring comic book creators into print. I mean, I'm a little biased because I know them and I have a relationship with them, but they're all awesome people, and I'll support them as much as possible. So show the Accidental Aliens some love. And another good friend of mine, Rylan Grant, he's been on the podcast a couple times. His comic book Aberrant just came out. He's going to have a panel. He's going to be moderating a panel with a bunch of another creator that we've had on the podcast, David Pepos of Spencer and Locke fame. I mean, Spencer and Locke just has the best tagline. What if Calvin and Hobbes grew up in Sin City?
No.
You guys have to check out Spencer and Locke.
Oh man, that sounds amazing.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, so their panel is directing your comic book, and this is pretty cool because Ryland comes from a movie making background. He's actually a successful scriptwriter, so he kind of puts himself in the role as a director when he's making his comic books. So as a writer and director, he sort of directs the project, but to sort of like to be a counterpoint, I think David Pipples has a little point of contention that you'll have to find out at the panel. So
interesting.
Yeah. So their panel is going to be Thursday, July 19th, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. So it's a late night one, but I think it might be the last panel of that night. And if I didn't give the time for the Accidental Aliens panel, it's going to be 3 p.m. Room 29AB, and then directing your comic book is going to be 7:30 to 8:30, room 8. And
this was on
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah. They're all good people, and I love hanging out with them. And I've learned a lot from them. And because, I have aspirations to sort of create something someday, so I'm getting a lot of inspiration and knowledge from these guys.
That's cool.
So it's sort of like a byproduct of doing this podcast. You sort of get the insights of how creative people think.
It's kind of a long-term boot camp.
Yeah. And so on Friday, I have a few here. I'm just going to go through a little bit of them. Our good friend Tony Kim, who was actually our first podcast guest, he's going to have a panel that he does. I think he's been doing this at the con every year for at least the last couple of years. It's how to build a geek brand and get paid. So
that's one that I was actually really interested in, because like Tony Kim, I met him like years ago when he first started doing his thing, coming to convention, and I spotted him wearing the bag.
The jacket.
Yeah, the jacket.
The WB bags.
Yeah, I was like, hey, I check out your blog. I really like it a lot. It was like around the same time that I started checking out the SDCC unofficial blog, and so those two were like always on the same level for me as far as like influential people that like got me into trying to dig deeper at San Diego Comic-Con. And then I actually ran into him again at another convention in Palm Springs, and he had his Hero Within brand there. I was like, oh, that's cool. I talked to him again. I was like, I mentioned that chance meeting. So he's like, oh yeah.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
I love. I've learned a lot from him too. And on this panel, he's going to have Anna Mia, it's a cosplayer, Chris Gore, it's a writer and creator. I think Film Threat. He's known from Film Threat.
He always seems to run into him.
So, I've watched Chris Gore for like the longest time, since like Tech TV, when he did DV Tuesdays and things like that, and when he does his other podcast, Pod Crash, and as well as what's his it's called like Film Threat. I'm always I've been like listening to him, watching him for like the longest time, but when I started going to cons with Alex, I'd always like run into him just randomly, and then like he would never remember me, obviously, but I'd always take a picture. It's my goal to take a picture with him every time until he eventually remembers me.
But he would talk to you like he remembered you.
That's true too. Yeah,
he had no clue who you were.
But I don't think he know. Yeah,
he would joke with you.
He would joke with me. Yeah, we would talk. We would have a full-on conversation, and then we'd say goodbye and split ways. But every time, I know he doesn't remember me ever. It's always my goal to try to catch up with him.
Another interesting, interesting for me. Remember we tried when we were doing our podcast. We were almost gonna have him on our podcast.
That's right.
We were gonna
have his podcast, Pod Crash, on the Poor Decisions podcast. So he was gonna crash our podcast.
Well, we interviewed him for that show too.
Yeah, but that didn't fall through. Yeah, unfortunately.
That's right. One of these days.
One of these days.
Maybe the 10th time you see him.
Yeah.
One day. Yeah.
Hey, we want to do that podcast?
Hey, you gonna crash my podcast?
So you got Chris Gore, Anna Mia on that panel. Oh, you can have Andre Meadows is gonna be on that panel. That's pretty cool. That's going to be on Friday, July 20th, from noon to 1 p.m. It's going to be at the Grand 1 and 2 at the Marriott Marquis, San Diego Marina. So I think that's where they had it last time. The next panel I want to showcase is something I'm sort of involved with. It's mobile filmmaking, how to make a movie with a smartphone, tablet, drone, or GoPro. My good friend Susie Botello is going to be moderating this panel. And for those of you that may know, I am the brand ambassador for the International Mobile Film Festival that Susie runs every year, which takes place every April. So that's always a fun event, and I'm always down to support her. And I actually met her at this panel a couple years ago. That's how we met. And then we sort of struck up a friendship, and then we've been a guest on each other's podcast several times. So. So I encourage anybody who's interested in trying to make movies with your mobile device, because that's going to be the future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know me and Alex, we've been starting to film promos on my cell phone, more or less. I mean, the picture quality is great. Sure, we can't do like all the cool tricks like professional camera can do, but I really believe that mobile phones are going to be the next big thing. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a feature film in theaters later that's shot on mobile.
They have those hand stabilizers now, so it's so much easier now to do. They're insane.
You see that video on YouTube where this guy took a stabilized in video on Goliath at Six Flags, and it's just trippy. If you ever get a chance to watch it, it's just like the perspective of it is just so strange, but it's cool. It's cool to watch, though.
Yeah, just a little anecdote about stabilizers, and even just on the sort of accessibility on making movies on your mobile device, because I mean, it's sort of like soccer. Like, soccer is such a universal sport around the world because you can sort of play it anywhere, right? Same thing with a mobile phone. I mean, most everybody has it in almost any country that you go to. So it's funny, like Susie was contacted by somebody, a filmmaker, an aspiring filmmaker in Africa, and he's saying, yeah, I don't have these fancy stabilizers or these gimbals. I can't afford that. And then Susie says, do you have access to a junkyard? Is your car there? Is there a steering wheel that you can sort of use?
Wow.
So she said, maybe you can, if you can get a steering wheel, just secure your phone to that steering wheel, and you can use the steering wheel as a stabilizer.
And that's a very good idea.
Yeah. So, and it worked. It worked for him.
Yeah.
I bet it did. Dang. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I noticed that, like, those people who have those stabilizers for their cameras, they look like just old steering wheels.
Yeah. Was it a YouTuber, Freddie Wong? I remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember Freddie Wong.
In his older videos, like, that's what they would use. They'd just use a broken steering wheel to film most of their sketches and things like that.
Cool. So, and that panel is going to take place 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the Marriott Grand Ballroom 3 and 4. So I encourage our listeners to go check it out. The next panel is called Enter Uncharted Regions. This one's pretty cool because me and Alex were actually at Intergalacticon, and the people that do this Uncharted Regions, they have put together this awesome audio experience. It's basically audio, it's like an audio drama.
It's gonna be interesting. There's no moderators at all?
No, it's Neil and Jaina Halford.
Okay.
They're both movie makers, and I think Neil also has experience in video games. So they sort of parlayed their experience and their talents to it's sort of like they have an ongoing season, but it's basically, from what I got from it, it's almost like Twilight Zone, but an audio version. So it's like each episode is a standalone story.
Nice.
So it's not episodic at all. It's just standalone storytelling. Cool. But it's pretty cool because on this one, I mean, the audio quality, Alex, it was awesome. Like I was impressed. If you close your eyes, you can imagine that you're there. Yeah, you can picture it in your head.
Is there a narrator on the thing?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of it's a conversation. It's like you're plucked down into the scene, and something happens, and you just get pulled along for the ride. So there is a beginning and the end narrator, and I want to know who that that person is because his voice was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like he could be reading audiobooks for like a living or something like that. But on this episode, they have somebody who starred in Farscape, Gigi Edgley. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Yeah.
She stars in this episode. So I
Awesome.
encourage our listeners to go check it out as well. It's going to be 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Friday, July 20th at the Neil Morgan Auditorium at the San Diego Central Library. And this one, I think from what I remember, I don't think you don't need a badge for this one, I don't think. So they should check it out. But don't quote me on that.
Not quoted.
Yeah. And the next panel I thought was pretty cool was you guys, obviously we read comic books, right? Like actual floppies, right?
Yeah.
But like there's a big movement out there for like online comic books, and specifically there's the webtoon on webtoon.com.
Yeah.
I know that it's a big collection of South Korean comics, online versions, but there's a lot of American artists and people outside of Korea who are trying to submit their work to Webtoon. And this panel right here is breaking in and monetizing your comics with Webtoon. I think this will be helpful for people who are trying to, if you're starting out, you need a place to showcase your work. I think this would be a good opportunity for them to, find a way to get your work out there. So check it out. Just go to webtoon.com. Check out the stuff there. It's free. Hacksor's awesome. Yeah. That's Walter Osley. Yeah, Walter Osley. He's an artist that worked on one of our former guests, Greg Anderson's. What was it? Isnana, the Were Spider. It's pretty. Yeah, the Were Spider. So it's pretty cool, and we're big fans of his work. And this panel is going to be on Friday, July 20th, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Seems like a lot of the good panels that we want to go to are like late at night. And it's going to be on room 4.
They don't want you to leave. Spend more money.
Where do you think you're going?
Give me your wallet on the way out.
And Saturday, you know how we're big fans of Art Term. There's another artist that I've always wanted to check out, Kim Jong-ji. He'll just pick a spot and start drawing there, and it's like incredible what he comes up with. So
No.
I mean, and his drawings are intricate. It's like I don't know how he does it. Just mentally, he must have a things already planned out because there's no way that, I don't know. You just have to check it out for yourself.
You know how most comics they do a rough sketch and they fill it in.
Mm-hmm.
His is just straight finished inks.
Interesting.
It's
Wow.
all from memory
Yes,
too. No
that's so
reference.
crazy.
No reference pictures. It's all
I've
from
heard
memory.
about people that do like I think this
And
is like they talked about him in
Oh yeah,
the
he's
podcast.
probably one of the most popular ones out
Yeah.
there. A lot of comic artists or aspiring artists pretty much know who he is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that just blows my mind when people are able to do that.
And his panel is going to be Saturday, July 21st, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Another hour and a half. That should be a good one. It's going to be room 2. Another artist that I've always wanted to check out. I'm a big fan of Vampire Hunter D. Yoshitaka Amano. I was always a big fan of his concept art, the art that he provided for Vampire Hunter D, the novels and all the stuff that went with that. Neil Gaiman's Sandman. So if I can get to this panel, I definitely will. But it seems like the Kim Jong-ji and this one are conflicting with each other. I don't know why they did that. This one's going to be Saturday, 2:30 to 3:30, room 24A, B, C. And then our good friend Rob Salkowitz, he's going to be having a panel. I think he has a couple, but this one is the one that I wrote down because it's probably the only one that I'll be able to make that from the ones that he's going to be doing. Alternative comics anthologies, then and now. I always try to check out any panel with Rob Salkowitz because he's such a smart guy, and he has a good, he has a good understanding of the pulse of the comic book industry. I mean, not just about comic books, but just about the business side of comic books too. If you haven't already, I encourage our listeners to go check out his book, Comic-Con and the Business of Pop Culture. So it's a really good read, and just follow him. He writes for Forbes and ICV2.
Wow.
Just check out his
Very cool.
his articles online.
Check that book out.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be hopefully. He said he wanted to come on the show at Comic-Con, so
Oh, cool.
hopefully we'll get him on there. And his panel. This panel is going to be Saturday, July 21st, from 4:30 to 5:30, room 26AB. I mentioned Ryland Grant a little bit earlier. He's going to have a bunch of people. I don't know if are you guys familiar with Meltdown Comics?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, his
Rest in peace.
yeah, rest in peace. This panel that Ryland's going to be part of and he's going to be moderating is called "Created at Meltdown," because his comic book Aberrant sort of got the seeds of that comic book were started at Meltdown when him and a bunch of other creators would come together and talk shop. So a bunch of the people that he has on this panel were big supporters of Meltdown, and they would show up at that little group that they had.
Very cool.
So you have Ryland Grant, the creator of Aberrant. You have Jim Higgins, former DC editor, director of Meltdown University. Steve Prince, creator of Monster Matador.
Nice.
Michael Levine, Strange Romance Anthology. Carla Nappi, comic book called Duplicant. David Schrader, it's a comic book called Baby Badass, and David Schrader is going to be coming on the show as well at San Diego Comic-Con. So this panel should be pretty action-packed, and there's a lot of pretty cool creators who are going to be on here.
Nice.
It's going to be Saturday, July 21st, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., room 4. And those of you who are avid listeners of our podcast know that I'm a big fan of this next panel, and also the person that moderates it, cinematic storytelling for comics. Stephen Frank from Silver, and he was also an animation supervisor for the Iron Giant.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
This panel right here is pretty cool because he comes from a filmmaking and animation background, and he sort of parlays that experience into sequential storytelling, into the comic book form. So I don't know if you guys had a chance to check out his comic book Silver.
No, not yet.
It's basically a group of con men. It takes place sort of like in the noir Pulp Fiction era. A group of con men are trying to steal silver from vampires. And
really
it's,
cool.
yeah, it's really good comic book. It's really well drawn. It's just like the artwork is so
you know
cool.
what? That I saw that book at Long Beach Comic Con.
Okay, yeah. Check it out, man.
Yeah.
He's actually working on the last installment of the graphic novel. So part 4 is going to be the last one. It should be coming out soon, hopefully, because I want to read it. It's gonna, yeah. This panel is so cool because he sort of goes into how he takes the movie telling movie and cinematic approach and he applies it to his sequential art and storytelling for the comic book. So it's pretty much the cinematic impact of film language to the comics page.
Cool.
So this is going to be Saturday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Room 24 ABC. Now on Sunday, this is a panel that me and Alex try to go to every year. It's called Proper Pitching and Promoting. Our friend Brian Tillman, he's a artist based out of Baltimore. He does this panel every year, and it's just mind blowing because he's so animated and passionate about it, and he just gets the room all worked up and by the end of this, you want to go out and sell something. And you want to go out and pitch to Matt Hawkins or something, So, but yeah, if you're on that path, you're a creator and you want to, maybe take that next step and put your product out there, but you don't know how, then this is the panel for you. Let me just read the little description. Learn what it takes to present a proper pitch to a client or company. In this panel, you will learn about presentation, body language, elevator pitches, standing out, interview skills, and how to make an opportunity when there isn't one. Backed by popular demand, this is the perfect panel for those who are looking to make a name for themselves or trying to get their ideas in front of their company of choice. Once again, this is Brian Tillman. He's awesome, man. He just gets the crowd all worked up. But one thing, don't come to this panel late. because he will call you out for the rest of the panel.
Oh man!
Yeah, this is gonna be Sunday.
Showing up before
Not
the
if
panel
we
before.
not if we show up with 20 people.
So this takes place on Sunday, July 22nd, 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. They gave him extra time because this used to be only an hour, but this panel's so good that they gave him an extra 30 minutes.
Nice.
So it's gonna be room 2. And this next panel, Super Asian America, it's like, all props to my good friend Urias, who started, the Black Heroes Matter movement. I'm looking for some Asian love too,
Oh yeah.
So this panel right here, and I know Urias' movement extends to everybody, but this one is specifically for Asian America, Super Asian America, and I'm curious to see what they have to say. So on this panel, it's going to feature Ryan Potter. You can see he was on Big Hero 6. Mallory Yu, All Things Considered, which I'm guessing is the is that the NPR?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
NPR.
It'll be interesting to see. Tanya Kong from Daredevil, Joy Regulano from Supernatural, Keith Chow, I guess he's the guy from Nerds of Color, and this is going to be moderated by Race Bending's Mike Lee. So hopefully I can make it to this panel, but yeah, I should be able to. 2:45 to 3:45 p.m., room 5AB. And were you guys fans of X-Men the animated series?
Oh yes.
I'm sorry, what series?
X-Men in the animated series.
Oh yeah, totally. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're pretty
I recorded that like every Saturday.
There you go.
Hey, no copyright.
Oh yeah, that's right. No.
15 seconds. That's it.
That's right.
Yes, they're pretty much celebrating their 25th anniversary.
Nice.
So it's hard to believe, right?
Yeah, it's
25 years.
Gosh.
Jeez.
Wow.
I wasn't even born yet.
Well, series showrunner Eric Lewald and his wife Julia Lewald, as well as Len Yulee and Larry Houston, will be on this panel to sort of discuss and pontificate on the behind the scenes of which is such a cornerstone for a lot of us, X-Men the animated series. So
there's interesting side note. Like, X-Men the animated series helped pave the way for Power Rangers. Because it was like the
it was Saban. Yeah, Saban.
And because they did so well with X-Men the animated series, they Fox was open to whatever they were willing to do, so they pitched them Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and they approved it and got it going. And because of the X-Men animated series, we have Power Rangers.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the last panel that I will mention for Sunday, and it's I'm sorry. It's going to be the X-Men animated series panel is going to be Sunday, July 22nd, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. in room 7AB. And I think this is actually the last panel of the day, or it might be going at the same time as the Talkback panel. It's going to be the origin of Jack Kirby's Black Panther. Arlen Schumer is going to be doing this one of his many interesting and really eye-opening visual lectures. And I think this one's going to be pretty cool because it goes into, I guess, Black Panther, Jack Kirby, and stuff that you may not know about. I'm sure it's going to dive deep into Black Panther.
Arlen definitely dives deep into fandom.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Sunday, July 22nd, 2018, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., room 32AB. I'm looking forward to this one because I've seen, from what I've seen, especially when I was at Palm Springs Comic-Con, which will be a good segue. We were there, and I actually interviewed Arlen there, and he had the Batman 25th anniversary visual lecture, and also the Jack Kirby one that he did at Palm Springs Comic-Con.
Have you guys ever asked Arlen about which Batman he prefers.
Oh yeah, the cowl and the cape with the scallop cape. Yeah.
I love his explanation on why certain ones are like the terrible ones. Yeah, it's my favorite explanation.
Yeah, so let's go into Palm Springs Comic-Con, guys. One reason why we wanted to have you on the show, I mean, not only because you guys are cool, but also because we sort of want to not only talk about San Diego Comic-Con, but also talk about Palm Springs Comic-Con and the unique relationship that you guys have.
Oh. Do you want me to start from the very beginning?
Yeah. Let's go into the why Palm Springs Comic-Con
was 400 BC.
but before that, let's do another cheers.
Oh yeah,
cheers.
Gumbe.
Oh, here we go.
I think we might need another bottle of soju.
Yes. Oh man, that water's great.
So, interesting story was I was home one day and I had a knock on the door, and all of a sudden I opened the door and there's this guy standing there, and he was, "Are you Alex Callego?" I go, "Yes." And he was, I have a summons for you. And I was like, okay. And it, like, attached to it was like a check for $65 and like the summons, all the paperwork and everything. And it read San Diego Comic-Con versus Salt Lake City.
Ah.
And I guess they were reaching out to all these different smaller conventions to try to. I think Salt Lake City was trying to bolster. I'm not really sure the motivations, and I don't want to assume, but I think Salt Lake City was trying to bolster their reasons why they should win, obviously, and then obviously San Diego Comic-Con was defending their right to the trademark of Comic-Con. So I end up going to to give my what was the term, testimony, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they just answered me a lot of questions about like how do I define a convention. And I don't want to bore you guys with that. But at the end, so when I met the Salt Lake City people. They were like the attorneys for them, and I also met the attorney for San Diego Comic-Con, and alongside him was David Glanzer.
Yeah.
And that I was like, I remember David Glanzer from one of the interviews for San Diego Comic-Con, and it's just like I was like, I got to meet this guy, you know. So we went through the whole thing. I gave my testimony and everything like that, and then he. I was like, as we were leaving, I was like, "Hey, you're David Glanzer." I was like, he's like, "Yeah, I really liked your interview on the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog again, promoting them." But I recognized his voice, and I was like, he's like, "Oh, thank you." And so we walked downstairs with him and his lawyer, the Comic-Con lawyer, and we were just chatting about everything, and he was like, you know, we really like your testimony, and we really like. He's like, and in my opinion, we feel that you fit like what we're looking for as far as conventions who are follow the similar mission as San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
And we are looking for people to sign on as trademark affiliates. And so I go, I'm definitely interested. And it took a few months and everything to get it, because like they're very busy. They, you know.
I remember we also had like we had concerns ourselves because we had a little bit of a back and forth. We're like, oh, is this legitimate?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even not even just like the whole idea of legitimacy. It was more so like, do we lose our identity of who we are? And but we realized that we don't, because their mission and our mission are very similar, and like how we feel about the comic book industry and how we feel about its conventions as a whole, their goal. I was like, no, I mean, regardless, like either way, like we're gonna have to do something. We either have to change our name because we don't want to like get into anything with like San Diego Comic-Con. They're like, that's for me. One, I like I don't want to say worship like what they do, but at the same time they're
a very good example in that we like their practices and we want to apply it to ourselves. I mean, we're not going to be that big anytime soon, but it's good to have something to kind of look up to, glimpse into the future almost. I don't know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But then things came together, and then finally, right before actually year 2 of our con, we were able to announce it. They made it official. We had to put the R next to Comic-Con now.
Yep. Believe me, I have the keys down and everything for that. Every time we type Palm Springs Comic-Con, boom, I know how to do the R thing now.
Yeah. And to us, we feel that it's an honor to be affiliated, even just as a trademark-wise.
Yeah.
They've given us the blessing to move forward in this direction that like honors what a true convention would be, but they've also like given us the room to be ourselves. That's what a lot of people I think make the mistake about, like, oh, they just want to control. No, they want to make sure that the idea and of what a Comic-Con is remains true to a mission that is about comics. It's not about this autograph hounding show. It's it's about, I mean, obviously that's part of it, but it's not the whole thing. It's about educating the people and bringing about new ideas within the comic book realm. Like as example, is proven with all the panels that you guys have been talking about. It's really still about comics. A lot of people, Mark Evanier said in an interview, he was saying that he gave this story about how he was doing a panel about like all the different Batman. He had a bunch of creators of all these different Batman villains, and he came down to the convention's floor, and he was like, because he was done with his panel, and then like this attendee came up to him and was like, man, I wish there was Comic-Con's not about comics anymore. It's all about like Hollywood and everything. He's like, well, Mark Evanier was like, well, I just came down. I just moderated a panel about that. Like, where were you? And the attendee was like, oh, I was in line for Lost. You know what I mean? And it's not San Diego Comic-Con's fault. It's where our attentions are drawn. And people need to like dig deeper, if they really, really want to have comics, it's there. There's over 1,000 panels this coming weekend, and for you to make the excuse that it's all about Hollywood is like preposterous.
Definitely.
And you're just not digging, and you don't even have to dig that deep. It's right there. Look in the panel guide. It's all there. And so that's where, like, the whole association with San Diego Comic-Con and Palm Springs Comic-Con is from. And we're, like I said, we're very honored to have that affiliation.
Were you guys the first ones to be?
I can't say we were the first ones. I know that when we were talking, they were saying like they're like, it was funny because like there was a moment where we were about to not do it, and he goes. The one thing that like brought me back was he's like, well, there is a handful of conventions that we have already signed on, and we're waiting on more. And I was like, really? Because I didn't want one of my fears was to be the target. But if we have this like cabal of like smaller conventions who also are affiliates and believe in the mission of San Diego Comic-Con. That makes us that much stronger, and their mission that much stronger, and the idea that what they believe a Comic-Con should be, and we believe that too. It convinced us, and it could, there are, and like I said, I don't know who. They won't reveal them to me, and I don't really care to know. But it's cool to know that there are other people who are affiliates. I'm sure that eventually they will announce it, or other conventions will announce that they are affiliates as well. So,
Well, congratulations on that distinction.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we had a good time when we were at Palm Springs Comic Con last year.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. I mean, I will be honest. It was growing pains that year. I'm not gonna like candy coat it whatsoever. With like any small con, you have your struggles, and especially for us, we are a crowdfunded convention. When our first year was funded, we were able to raise a decent amount of money, but it's nowhere near what you need to support yourself through 5 year. You know how they say with a business you have a 5-year plan. Well, $14,000 after, but that's before the Kickstarter takes their share.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's not a lot of money, so you're like, really trying to spread your dollar, as best as you can. So you come to our convention, don't expect like all the fancy.
Don't expect San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Expect a fun interactive convention.
Yeah.
Like that's what one of our main goals is to engage people.
Yeah.
Like we find that however we can engage the attendee and keep them there, which we've seen how Comic-Con does it. They do an amazing job. Like by allowing studios and companies, comic book companies, to have, they pay for a space inside, but outside they could do whatever they want. They could have to promote whatever they want, and that's amazing to me. It gives them that freedom, and that's kind of what I want to be able to do. Is like you pay for a spot in here, but I want you to have the freedom to like promote yourself however you want it outside. Cool.
I guess I'm curious. Why did you start Palm Springs Comic Con in the first place? And you mentioned the 5-year plan earlier. What's your 5-year plan?
Well, why did I start Palm Springs Comic Con? Interesting story on that. I always say it's an interesting story. I don't know.
It is an interesting story.
But it started. I used to be the events coordinator for the Ace Hotel and Swim Club in Palm Springs. My background came from like putting on punk rock shows and hip hop shows and like doing stand up comedy and everything. And then they hired me on there, and then my then GM. Jason Deibler, who used to be in a boy band, I think it was in Europe. He was like in a pretty decent, huge boy band.
That's very interesting. Yes.
He's also a comic book fan. We'd like talk comics all the time, and he knew that like I was gonna go like to San Diego Comic-Con. He's like, you know what you should do? You should bring Comic-Con to Palm Springs. And at that time, I was like, nah, that'll never happen. Like, how can I do that, But it definitely planted a seed, because when I started doing events with Palm Springs, with the Ace Hotel, I had a boss in my department by the name of Greg Bresnitz, and at the time, I disagreed with a lot of things that he did, but I admired him because he was like this event producer who did like some really cool things. He actually worked with IFC. He put on a show on there. He produced a show that was about like food and music, where they would have like a band come on and there's a chef there, and they would like make a dish together themed after like the band that was there.
Okay.
And he would tell me about putting on events and how he would do them, because he would, even though he worked for the Ace Hotel, he also still like worked on his own side events. He does a podcast. I still think he does the podcast. I'm not sure, but it's called Snacky Tunes. It's same concept as that TV show that was on IFC, but like podcast form. And he would just like give me information on how to do things. He taught me how to put on events, and I, begrudgingly listened to him, but I look back on this to this day, and I'm very grateful for the knowledge he imparted to me, because it helped bring me to a level of being able to put on like events on my own, and that fearlessness that I needed to have in risk taking, to be able to put on Palm Springs Comic Con. And so, like, it also, like, there was a lot of, like, I got burnt out on music, putting on music events and everything, and I was like, what I wanted to... And then our podcast was ending. I was like, what's our next project? And then it ended up being the Palm Springs Comic Con. And that obviously stems from a lifelong 20 years of attending... This year is, like, my 20th year of attending San Diego Comic Con. And throughout my whole life, through good or bad, through different like highs and lows of my interest in levels in comics and like that of this realm of popular culture, it always still remained in there with me. Like I still like found joy in it, and it always rejuvenated me to come to San Diego Comic Con. Strangely enough, with like how much craziness goes on, it like you come. And there's so much going on, and it's this frenetic energy. But to me, like I get I'm an introvert, but I'm re-energized and revitalized and rejuvenated with ideas after, coming to one each year. And so that's where that stuff, like that, the passion to put on my own convention came from. My 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. It's shifted. It's kind of pivoted. Like after year 2, we saw the emergence of let's put this on the table. Mm-hmm. When we started our convention, another convention popped up in Palm Springs that like they had more money, and they put on a larger convention. They had Stanley like 2 years in a row. Slated,
sort of, but we won't get into that. And then another one in Indio started, and then just this year recently, a fourth one popped up, and we're like, okay, we have to take a step back. And this actually ended up being a really good year for us to do that, because things were changing with our previous venue. And we started trying to decide whether or not what we wanted to do. And we decided that a huge focus right now is branding. And we want to give our brand recognition and stand out from all these other conventions. And that's where the freedom that San Diego Comic Con has allowed us to have comes into play. Where we still need to find a way to fulfill the agreement that we have, yet do it in our own way. And to me, that's a creative challenge that I love. Mm-hmm. Like we've figured out different things, and we don't want to reveal any of them right now because they're still
sure.
in process. But they heavily rely on the idea of branding and creating a culture.
So, man, branding and creating culture. We were talking about branding before the podcast, and Justin, as a designer, mm-hmm. I mean that's something that you probably work with day in and day out. I mean, how is the branding experience been going from your perspective for Palm Springs Comic Con?
It's been going good. I mean, it seemed like the first 2 years, or I'll say the first year in particular, we kind of laid a path. We knew what we were doing, and then when it came around year 2, it got a little bit more relaxed. To be honest, there's things that went on for year 2, but I think when it came to year 2, we still had our presence there, but the brand just wasn't there at all, like we had for the first year. Going into the third year, we've definitely learned our lessons, good and bad, because good things did come out of year 2, and then, there were not so good things that came out of year 2. I've definitely learned a lot, especially from a design aspect. I'm learning every day how to handle certain situations when it comes to like marketing, and just getting our name out there the best we can with the tools that we have. Social media is definitely a huge factor. And I don't think a lot of starting businesses really understand that social media is a thing that will get you recognized. Because everybody's on their phone, everybody's on their computer, wherever they're at, they're always connected to social media, and running paper ads and things like that. Although they work, they don't work as well as you would think. But it's still nice to have that out there. As far as branding goes, though, but I'm noticing being slightly bit unique and different, trying to separate ourselves from everybody else, really has shown that people have captured a little bit more interest in us this year, this time around. I've noticed that we've been getting a lot more traction when it comes to because Alex and I were definitely strange people. we're nerdy and strange. At least I consider. I don't know about him. I consider myself nerdy and strange.
I'm
okay, so
weird,
we're extremely weird, and
just
we'd like
Instagram,
to right. Exactly. And our inspirations are like, obviously comic books, movies, TV, also like Adult Swim is definitely a heavy influence, Super Deluxe, just anything that's super weird and strange. And that's kind of that's kind of what we want to base ourselves on, is like we want to be the convention that's like we're the underdogs, we're weird, we're strange, but we're still we're in it for the comics and all the other medias that's out there, video games and things like that.
We're still charming.
Yeah, I think we're still charming. Hey, we're approachable. Hey, don't forget we're approachable. No.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like I think you could be yourself, right, and you could do your thing, right, but be charming as well. Yeah, exactly. I think that's like one of the number one things for like as far as like branding is concerned. Mm-hmm. You have to have some level of approachability, right? Like, and you get that through just being like having like being empathetic.
Mm-hmm. I was about to mention empathy.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. and being cognizant of what other people are talking about.
Exactly, and also what I was gonna say, like having that sort of what's the word?
Gravitas?
Relevancy.
Relevancy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Relevancy. You can talk about the past all you want, but I'm a pro wrestling fan, and I don't know if any of your listeners are pro wrestling fans, but so currently there's this like faction that happens in like Japan and here in America called the Bullet Club, and one of the members of the Bullet Club is this guy by the name of Cody Rhodes, who is the son of Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. They're putting on a show in Chicago in September, and called All In, and it's self-financed. They don't have any sponsors whatsoever, and they sold out in 30 minutes. And what he was talking about like the lineup that they have and all these are like wrestlers that are coming on there, and he was talking about like how I could we obviously have like the stars of today on that show. We could bring in stars of yesterday, but that's like very nostalgic, and a lot of them we can't really do much. His focus is to showcase the stars of the day, and he brought in a kid that nobody knows about. But he goes, I see a lot of myself in him.
Mm-hmm.
His desire, his passion for the business, his talent, on the microphone, in the ring, how he promotes himself. And I still can't even remember the kid's name. But he's like, I'm bringing him in on this show because he's like, I want to promote the stars of today, but I also want to really promote all the stars of the future. And that's what relevancy is about. Is like knowing what's good for today, what's popular for today, but also having your ear to the ground and knowing what's, the future of the business. And I feel that, like, throughout my whole career of putting on events, as far as bands go, one of the bands that I brought to the desert is this band called Future Islands. They're from Baltimore. When I first brought them out, they were this small band who nobody knew about. I was super stoked on them. We had them playing at a biker bar, and we had 25 people show up to that show. You go try to get on one of those shows today, tickets are like $50, $75, and they're playing big arenas now.
Wow.
And it's like
They were at Coachella.
2
last
years ago.
year.
Yeah. And it's just, it blows my mind because, like, that's the kind of thing that I try to do, is keep my ear to the ground and promote the future, talent. They're the ones who need it more than like say, a creator from the past, or even the creators that are like super popular today that are blowing up right now.
Sure.
These newer creators need more their signal boosted.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I think we provide them a great platform because we're definitely all about independent artists and new and upcoming artists, or even people that locals that want to just get their art out there.
Yeah.
We're definitely all about that.
Yeah, if you come to a lot of our smaller events, like for Free Comic Book Day, for all the library events that we do, we don't have any big names.
No.
We've never had anybody like bigger than.
Those are big names.
I don't know. I can't even think of.
I think the biggest name that we've had was Arlen Schumer.
Yeah, that's the biggest name we had.
He's the biggest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So I mean, that's in terms of like a 5-year plan. That's kind of like where we're at.
Yeah.
We're pivoting slightly, and we're not just like the Palm Springs Comic Con is under an umbrella an older umbrella that I had for events, and we're also expanding on different things that we want to do. But as far as Palm Springs Comic Con goes, that's their goal.
Yeah, I think you said a keyword, pivoting, because it's those course corrections you make every so often, because you're sort of proactively thinking of how to improve. It's if you don't do that, then you'll lose sight of of your mission, of what you're trying to do. I mean, you can have a goal, but I mean that should be like you said, relevancy. Something may happen in the near future that you're not aware of, and how do you react to that situation? You have all these cons popping up near you, and it's like you're gonna have to sort of rise up to that challenge to sort of brand yourself as that sort of con that's gonna be different, but still appeal to people to come. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we're excited too.
Yeah, we have some crazy ideas coming up. Yeah.
And we'll be there to support you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Palm Springs Comic Con, do you have a tentative date for the next one?
Well, as we mentioned before, there's been a shift in our venue. The previous venue that we had is no longer a Hard Rock, and so You know, that relationship was also kind of like I don't want to speak like poorly about anybody, so like let's like not talk about that.
Yeah.
But it's not there anymore, basically, right. And so we're trying to move it to a different venue, and we have a deal that we're working on right now. We are trying to finalize a date though because we're moving the main one to a later date, February, March, sometime.
Early 2019.
But as a placeholder type of event, we're gonna do a smaller Frankenstein style event, but with free panels and a lot of different free activations. The only thing that you'll really have to pay for to do is like get into the vendor area, where also we'll have some of our signings and things like that if we have any.
Okay.
But we're also going to be introducing some other elements that are part of our bigger event promotion company that are going to be we're going to be kind of like giving a preview on. So yeah, that's something that we're excited about.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking offhand here. Is there any way that you can parlay your experience with music and try and bring that as an element into?
It's always been like a question. I've always found that as much as music, while there is like a correlation between like hip hop and punk rock to like comic books, there's a lot of like people who are into the comics who are into music. I've always found it a little bit what's the word, forced. Like people like try to mash in, if you have if you have like mainstream music artists and try to bring them in there, it's kind of, it doesn't feel right. It's never felt right to me, and I don't want to force that. I feel like there's people like there's companies like NerdBot.
Yeah.
They do a great job with like putting on a convention that has a musical element, but they have more of a nerd sort of mindset towards the music and everything, and I don't want to step on that world, because it's like they do it well, and they do it right, and they've been doing a great job at it. They started a second convention that's like Anime Pasadena, and I applaud Elvin for like doing such an amazing job with NerdBot and that brand. But I don't want to like copy that,
right?
You know? So if I was gonna do any sort of music element, I'd either do it as a separate type of thing, keep it separate, or I would have to figure a creative way to do it. I know there's like this like event happening in the first week of November in Orange County. I just found out about it today.
What kind of event?
It's like they bill it as a Comic-Con during the day and a music and comedy festival at night.
Interesting.
I can't remember the name of it. If I do, I'll let you know off the podcast. But I just saw it on Instagram today. I saw the lineup. I was like, Patton Oswalt? That's cool. You know?
That's pretty awesome.
And then they had like Cold War Kids on there. I was like, all these different like bands and comedians. Awesome. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And they had, at the bottom they had like Comic-Con style vendors. I was like,
really?
Yeah. I was like, this is an interesting concept. Let's see where this goes.
Huh.
It's such a unique idea, but I don't think, for me personally, again, it feels forced a little bit, because even like, remember Nerdist put on that. Yeah. And that felt a little forced. You know, like they had Weezer there, and the concept was like cool, but it just like, it felt like you're bringing in these two worlds that don't have anything to do with each other and don't really care. There's people who like Weezer who are like nerds, and there's like people who love Weezer who are kind of into like, I don't think it's ever like it's like asking a Star Trek fan and a Star Wars fan to have a convention together and bill it as that. Star Trek and Star Wars.
Cool.
You know, people are. I mean, it sounds cool. I'd go too. but which one would you be more a fan of? Right?
Oh, that's a tough one.
You know, like, would you be as equal?
Star Trek, of course.
What the? I'm off this podcast.
That's blasphemy.
No, but yeah, you know, that's what it feels like. So for me, like, if they can pull it off, more power to them. I want them to succeed. I think that's the mindset of like a lot of like promoters should have. They should want other people who are doing these ideas to succeed. Because like if that succeeds, it's like they're testing out the waters for something where, okay, they did that. Let me see if I could up the ante. You know, and so that's where true creative genius comes from. Like, and I'm not saying a creative genius comes in terms of events or anything, but if you're thinking about that way, if you want to be relevant, you gotta do stuff like that. You gotta be like thinking in advance. You know, I'm just not willing to like take that leap to be that person to like mash that all together.
Well, I mean, you still got to be true to yourself, though, too.
Exactly. I feel like I have so many different sides of my personality that if I was going to do a music event, I'm going to put it on a music event. You know, and I'll only add elements of my sides of my personality that I feel comfortable.
Cool. I guess once you know more about your next event, you know, let us know and we'll get you on the podcast again.
Definitely.
And where can people find out more about Palm Springs Comic Con?
We are on Instagram, on Twitter, and Facebook at PS Comic Con. You can also find us on the internets. We're actually currently revamping our website. We've taken down a lot of like the content just in lieu of like
so if you see something like really strange on the website, we're still working on it.
But it's pscomiccon.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess we'll sort of turn the conversation back to San Diego Comic Con,
sure.
And then we'll close out the show. You know, both Alex and myself, we're going to be working Bobby Rubio's booth, the morning shift, from 9:30 to 1:30. It's going to be booth 1943, the Alcatraz High booth. Bobby will be there, and our good friend Keithan Jones. He's the creator of the Power Knights, and he also owns Kid Comics. He'll be there selling his comic books. So come see us. We are sort of playing off the Avengers Initiative. So this is the San Diego Comic Initiative. So please come visit us if you can. If you're going to San Diego Comic Con, that's booth 1943. And usually, we'd go out and party at night, but since we got to be at the booth at 9:30, our partying is going to be limited. But there are some offsites that we do definitely want to check out. Alex, you want to go into this a little bit?
All right. Let's start it off with preview night at Basic Pizza on 10th Avenue. They're going to have a comic kickoff benefiting the Hero Initiative, which, if you guys aren't familiar with Hero Initiative, it's a way to support retired artists that was in the industry and that don't have insurance, or they have health problems, or they're in financial need, and they raise money for them. And this year it'll be Jeff Martinez, our friend, San Diego, works for DC. He's a former guest on our podcast. Chad Kavanaugh, veteran-owned comic book creator. Todd, was that? Grunt One B Comics. The industry favorite of ours is Todd Knock. Always fun guy to talk to and go to fun panels. He does. And Jim Calafiore and Gabe Ed Lab. How's the name?
I'm not sure. I've never met him. We'll ask him when we talk to him.
Oh yeah, when we talk to him. Yeah, so that's the kickoff party at preview night. Go to Basic Pizza, great pizza, one of our favorites in the Gaslamp area. Next one is that same night is the Game of Bloggers. It's at the House of Blues Wednesday from 9 to 12. This year's theme is Nerd Civil War, so it's Marvel versus DC. So choose a side and wear your favorite T-shirt. Prizes will be awarded, so
Blood will be shed.
Yeah.
Prizes will be awarded. Blood will be shed.
And first,
that's why it's called Game of Bloggers.
I'm looking forward to that red wedding.
It's free, so if you're 18 and up, go and head to House of Blues. First 30 guests at the door will get a drink ticket. Gotta be 21 now for a drink ticket.
Sorry, kiddies.
And on Friday, Saturday is the inaugural Afro Futurism Lounge at. Let's see, where is it at? Brokers Building. Where is that? Gallery. Brokers Building Gallery. Friday and Saturday, 20th and 21st from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Yeah, it's the address is 402 Market Street, just a few blocks up Fifth Avenue. Make a left on Market, and you're there. It's right next to the old Hooters, abandoned Hooters.
The ghosts of chicken wings passed. There.
Yeah, so it's first of its kind. It's part after party, part black artist showcase. So there's drinks and music. If you can't go to SDCC, you can go to Comic-Con. Make your way out there on Friday and Saturday and check out some of the artists out there. They have artists like Jason Reeves, writer and comedian Ruben Warren,
Nice.
our friend Keithan Jones, some other people, John Jennings, David Walker, David Phillips, Shauna Mills, Luana Richmond, and many more. So make sure you're right there Friday and Saturday. And this year they're having, I think, third year in a row, they're having the Black Heroes Matter Flash Mob. So our friend Uri, as the founder of Black Heroes Matter, will be organizing his annual event, his annual SDCC Flash Mob.
I want to check that out.
Yeah, Friday, July 20th at 6 p.m.
Nice.
At the stairs, the grand staircase. If you want to take part in a special moment to celebrate community, inclusion, representation.
Now, the grand
diversity?
the grand staircase, is that the one in the front or
Right
in the back?
in front,
Okay,
right in the
cool.
center. Yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah. So, they will be gathering outside the convention center in front of the grand staircase, like right out front, right between the two buildings, which means many attendees can participate. It's open to everyone, so make your way there.
Cool.
6 p.m. on Friday.
We're there.
And see on Saturday, July 21st at 9:30 to 1 at Volcano Rabbit, Hero Within Comic-Con after parties, and it's free with a Comic-Con badge.
Cool.
That's it.
And I think we will start wrapping it up. It's almost 2 hours. I can't believe we've been on this podcast with you guys for 2 hours.
I've never been on a podcast that was like
Yeah.
2 hours. That's crazy.
I've been on one that was 4 hours. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of our early ones it would go 2 to 3 hours. I think the one we did in LA with some of the people that went to Black Comics Day in San Diego, we were talking to some of the artists that were coming down from Los Angeles. That was almost almost 3.5 hours, I think. That was a good one. I guess first of all, thank you, Alex and Justin, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to San Diego Comic-Con. I hope you guys have an awesome time.
Same here.
I hope we see you there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is there any final tips you guys want to throw out there for people that are going?
Final tips.
Be
There's
sure to not put your pants on backwards.
we had this discussion earlier, but hey, those dockable scooters are out there. Go try them out.
Those things are cool.
Go-
We're gonna
go-
go ride them tomorrow.
Go check out our Instagram.
Yeah.
We have a referral code. You get $3 credit if you sign up through that portal. So yeah, go check it out.
Please sign up.
Oh yeah, just go PS Comic Con on Instagram. Go to our bio, and the link will be there in our bio.
Well,
There you go.
why don't you talk about your quest promo?
Oh yeah. Also, if you are a cosplayer and you are looking to get a little snack, so a little surprise snack from you're gonna get hungry, wearing those that big armor, Overwatch cosplay that you got. I know you're gonna get hungry, so.
We know all the tracers will be extremely hungry by the end of the day.
Exactly. So, if you take a picture of yourself and post it on your Instagram and use the hashtag PSCC goes to SDCC and hashtag on a quest, if we spot you around either the convention or in the gas time quarter, we'll try to get you some quest bars. Quest is a protein bar, I believe. I enjoy them. I think they
they're
taste
great.
great.
I love
we also have cookies as well. They're protein
I
cookies.
like the cookies and cream ones. Those
Yeah,
are good.
They sent us actual cookies.
Oh, they're new stuff.
They're
Yeah,
stuff.
they're
They
new
have
cookies.
They gave
yeah.
us a
That's
box of chocolate chip and peanut butter
awesome. Oh.
cookies as well. So
Sweet.
supplies are limited. We're only going to give you a few of them, but if you do, I mean, it's who doesn't like getting free stuff, you know? Especially
I don't. I hate it.
free food always tastes good, right?
Yes.
Free food always tastes good. So come on.
Especially if it helps you be healthier.
Yeah, exactly.
My tip is to be kind.
Be kind.
I mean, just generally be kind. Watch out for everybody. Watch out for your friends. Watch out for the people that are next to you, because, I think we need to watch out for each other more often these days, and just generally be kind, because,
Mm-hmm.
people need help every once in a while, and I think con karma is a real thing.
For me, I feel like, just be conscious of trying to be a better fan in general. That's my goal all the time. Be a better fan, and that involves being, like you said, being kind.
What you, Alex? What do you got?
Probably, if you're waiting in line, talk to the person next to you. You never know where they're from, what their story is, and might make a new friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always cool, meeting new people at con.
Cool. Well, that's the show. I hope everybody that is going to San Diego Comic-Con has a safe trip, and I hope you have an awesome time. And if you happen to have a chance, pass by booth 1943 and say hi. We'd be glad to meet you. Peace, cheers, and talk to you later. Bye.